Men are good, as are you. And today I'm here with Moiret Allegiere, one of my favorite writers on men's issues that exists. He is great. If you want to see some of what Moiret has written, you can go to MenAreGood.com and have a look there. We've got several articles of his up there. And he's also got his own blog. We will leave those links below because I think that if you don't know about his work, you're going to get excited. It's good stuff. Anyway, Moiret and I are here today to talk about red pill relationships. And before we take a step forward from that, we've got to understand that relationships of any kind for men are dangerous. In this day and age, and it's sad to say it, but in this day and age, it's very dangerous for men to even get into relationships because the power situation where women can just wipe you out. But even with it being as dangerous as it is, men are still pulled into relationship. And I hear from a lot of men, what can we do to keep ourselves safe in relationships? What can we do to make things different in relationships? So really what the questions are about is, what is a red pill relationship? What are the differences between the blue pill relationship and then the red pill relationship? And that's what we're going to talk about today. Moiret, welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for that, the introduction. I'm not sure I deserved that.
Entirely welcome. So what do you think of the whole red pill relationship thing? What comes to your mind first when you think about it?
I'm thinking that men need to put their foot down sometimes.
Amen.
And understand what they want.
Yes.
And who they are.
Yes. And that's a critical piece right there. The blue pill relationship, the men are somewhat sleepy. We're not really aware of our own self. And importantly, from the red pill perspective, men are not aware of their own worth. Their own
absolutely.
Worth in being. They tend to evaluate themselves in their worth in what they do and what they accomplish. And that's one thing, and that's not a bad thing. But in the red pill relationships, you've got to have men who are valuing themselves for who they are. And as soon as that happens, different things happen in the relationship. And you mentioned one, putting your foot down,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. You put that foot down because you know that you have needs that deserve to be met within the relationship, right?
Yep. And I'm thinking particularly I am thinking about hobbies. That there's an entitlement from women in relationships that men shall give up everything, right?
Yes.
Because they only need to spend time with their, what's the term? The significant other.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And nothing else matters.
Yes, especially their hobbies and the things they do for fun.
Yeah.
Right? Throw those out. And I've seen that over and over again. Especially when men get married. Before the marriage, they've got 2 or 3 friends they spend, time with. They go and do this and that. They go shoot at the range. They do all kinds of things. And then slowly after they get married, their own interests seem to start to go away. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's strange, isn't it?
Yes.
Really strange.
Yes.
See, I saw this post on Facebook written by a woman in which she very proudly declared that she had finally gotten her live-in boyfriend to get rid of his PlayStation.
Ooh.
Because, and I quote, these are her exact words, grown men need to do something better with their time. Video games are childish. And this woman collected Disney movies. Right. Which is kind of interesting because those are very specifically for children, while video games, quite a few of them are for adults.
That's what you call a stark double standard.
Yeah, or someone who is absolutely completely incapable of looking at themselves.
Well, and there you go. She is incapable of looking at her own double standard and her own demand that he stop anything that she seems childish, but she can have all the Disney movies she wants. Yeah. And that's when the guy needs to step up and say, wait a minute, how about your Disney movies? Isn't that childish?
Yeah, it should be pointed out at least. Now, were I that guy, I would have absolutely refused to get rid of the PlayStation.
Yes, exactly.
There's no doubt about it.
But now, think of what you need to do in order to say, no, I'm not getting rid of my PlayStation. What do you need to have? You need to have a sense of, A, that the relationship is not just about her. It's about a partnership. It's about both of you. And that's what red pill relationships are. It's understanding that your partner is not your boss. It's not her decision, all her decision about what you're going to do with your life, which is almost the blue pill way. It's almost like guys get into this trance where it's all about what she wants you to do. And you've got to break out of that nonsense, man. That'll kill you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'll kill you in a heartbeat.
It'll erode you. I think it's just an
it's
a steady, very steady erosion.
Like a torture, In fact, it's kind of like abuse in a way.
Yeah, I would say so.
Men's interests, the things they like to do for fun, get sort of eroded away, and oh boy, and one of the problems underneath all of this, Moiret, is that the men I've seen in relationships over and over again, they tend to not know what they want in a relationship, and they tend to not know what is good for them, their own desires, because they're built. The blue pill build is you think about what the woman wants, what should we make her happy, and then things are good. Man, a couples therapist, oh my God, over and over again, when I'd have a man I was seeing and he'd be in couples therapy also, right? And every time I'd see it over and over again, what would happen would be the couples therapist was focused on what the woman wanted, what the woman needed, and about how the man was supposed to get her what she wanted. I mean, that was the theme right there.
Oh, absolutely fantastic.
Oh my gosh. And he goes along with it because it seems like, this is what everyone's thinking is the right thing to do. And you've got to have strength. You've got to have this part of you that says, wait a minute, I'm important too here. My needs and wants are just as important as hers and need to be as much on the front burners as hers are,
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
But then you get called selfish.
Yes, right away. And what men need to learn is this is not selfish. This is self-caring. There's a big difference between the two. Selfish is when you want it all to yourself. Self-caring is when you say, well, wait a minute. We're going to do 50% for you and 50% for me. I'll wash the dishes and you dry the dishes. Working out a partnership, because that's the bottom line, is that's what a red pill relationship is. It's a partnership. It's a partnership.
There's a lot of very subtle diplomacy going on, I think.
What do you mean?
There's a lot of very subtle diplomacy going around in a red pill relationship.
Yes.
Well, there should be in any functional relationship.
Yes, absolutely. And respect is a key word. And I think that's part of what you're saying.
Mutual respect.
Mutual respect, where both parties respect each other's wants and needs and desires, where your world is built not just for you, but built to love and cherish your spouse, whether you're the man or the woman.
Yeah.
Because, man, I'm telling you, things in relationships, things will go downhill fast. If one person says, fuck you, I'm not doing that shit. The other person says, fuck you, you're the asshole, I'm not the asshole. And then then you spiral downwards, man. And as soon as one person starts it and says, fuck you, then you're off to the races and you don't pick things back up for a long time. But everyone knows this. Everyone's been in that kind of scenario. But what most people don't know is that the opposite is also true. You can start an upward spiral by being kind and loving towards your spouse. And you move then upwards because she goes, oh, wow, that was nice. And she does something for you. You do something for her. And before you know it, you've got this upward spiral going where things are good. Things are really good. Now, it needs to be said that depends on two people being fairly mentally healthy. If you are involved with a woman who is borderline or has narcissistic personality disorder, this kind of thing doesn't help. It doesn't work.
No, then your best bet is to get the fuck away.
Yes, get the fuck away and read Paul's book. Say goodbye to crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't talk about this much, but I was in a relationship with someone who was absolutely, without a doubt, a borderline.
Huh.
And I don't particularly enjoy talking about it, but there were these, at the beginning of the relationship, you have this love bombing stage,
yes,
right?
Yes, man, it's perfect. Everything's great.
Everyone knows everyone has experienced
Where
it.
has
Rather,
she been all my life?
And they use these incredibly manipulative tactics, right? When you're getting to know them. I have no idea, or at least the one I was with did. And I have no idea how they do it. But they I suppose they pick up on subtle clues or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But we seemed to have completely matching interests and passions, right?
Yes.
Which made me think that, oh man, this is a perfect goddamn fit.
Yes, and she loves sex.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can't wait for you to have more sex.
Yeah, too much of it. And in fact,
wears you out.
Yeah, it really does.
That's it.
But after a while, these cracks start to appear, right?
Yep.
And the demands get bigger, and the I would say proper abuse. I'm not sure if that's the correct term, but the real abuse starts, right?
Yes.
And my turning point my turning point for this relationship was I was at a party without her, right?
Yeah.
And one of my ex-girlfriends was there, but just by pure coincidence.
Right.
And this borderline woman, she calls me up in the middle of the party, right after sending me I don't know how many text messages, which I hadn't heard. Right. And then she wondered who was there at the party, because at the beginning she was all sugar and spice, right? At the beginning of this phone call, she was all sugar and spice.
Yeah.
And then she asks me who was there at the party, right? And so I mentioned all my friends were there, and then I mentioned my ex-girlfriend. And she completely flipped her shit, right? Yeah. And she hung up and got ridiculously jealous. And then she started texting me again during this party and wondering, is she drinking as well? My ex-girlfriend, is she drinking as well? And I told her, no, she's not drinking. No, I'm not going to fuck her. And trying to calm her down right during one of her crazies, one of her crazy fits, right?
Yeah.
And then when I said that my ex-girlfriend wasn't drinking, she got it into her head that my ex-girlfriend was pregnant and that I was the father. For absolutely no reason.
Oh boy.
Right. And so, no, she's not drinking because she's a teetotaler. What's it called? Is it a teetotaler?
I think that's when you're not drinking, right?
Yeah, she wasn't drinking at all.
Right.
She never touched alcohol, right? And I tried to explain this to this crazy bitch. And she wasn't listening, right? And because she was completely and utterly convinced that I had gotten my ex-girlfriend pregnant.
Yep.
Which is absolutely insane, of course.
Yep.
And so I finally did what I should have done months ago, of course. I put my foot down and I ended it then and there.
Yes.
The entire relationship.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is would probably get me labeled a coward, but I ended it through a text message sent that very night because, goddamn.
I wouldn't call you a coward for that, man. That's called smart.
Rather blue-pilled people would call me a coward for that.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
No, that's using your head, because if you're going to go in and see her, I mean, it's just she's going to blow. She's going to blow.
She is.
And she's got no control. She's got no idea, and she's basically psychotic.
Yeah, and there was more. There were more instances. It was obviously an abusive relationship, and so there was more. But this is the one that really sticks out because she just got it into her head, and then that was absolute truth.
Right, and that
no
was,
doubt
of course,
about it.
Centered around the idea that you were going to leave her. Which is
which
the
I
fear
did.
of these young ladies, is that they're going to be abandoned, and if that fear gets in, then it can grow into all kinds of messy things. It's a terrible mess. But gentlemen, this is a good example of what you can do to test for someone whether they're going to be a possible red pill relationship with you or not, and that is to test and find out what happens when you say no.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
When you say no, and that's what's standing out. That's what we talked about at the very beginning was, being able to know what you want and stand up for that and say, no, I'm not going to get rid of my PlayStation. And then see what happens.
But in order to do that, I think you have to know yourself first.
Yes, exactly. Precisely.
That's an incredibly difficult thing to do. And
yes,
it's actually,
especially in a blue pill world, because we're taught not to know ourselves and not to value ourselves as men, as human beings. Only human doings. You're only valuing yourself for what you do.
Yeah.
So, this is what men need to learn. They need to learn their value is in their being, not just in their doing. When they do that, then things automatically start happening. Like you stand up for yourself, you say no to things in a calm way. You lose if you get too upset.
You don't have to get angry about it.
She's going to point to you and say, "Oh, see, you're the asshole. You're the one that's blah 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 blah." So you just need to say, "No, I'm not getting rid of the PlayStation. I'm not going to do that." Calmly, let her blow.
I think it is one of my hang-ups, actually, when it comes to red pill relationships, or rather relationships at all. It's men's hobbies, because we men, we tend to be more object-oriented.
Yes.
Yeah. And so our hobbies necessarily include a lot of stuff. And
And the hobbies are usually where we connect with our friends.
Yeah.
Whereas women connect with their friends via talking. Just, come over, let's have a cup of tea. Men aren't like that. They say, let's go shoot some baskets.
Yeah.
But it's the same kind of connection you get from that, but it's just different. And she's got to realize that. Just as you need to realize that she needs that time with her friends. Now, remember, the other thing is, Moiret, is that, sometimes it's the women who need to go shoot baskets and the men want to talk. I mean, it's not always...
of course.
It's not always masculine versus feminine. Sometimes it goes the opposite. So, we need to be aware that allow people to be who they are, basically.
That's the thing about...
So, the men need to learn that they have value in their being. What do the women need to learn? What do you think?
I'm thinking that women need to learn to be less entitled. They need to learn to listen.
Yes.
That's what, like the feminists say that men have to learn. Well, women should goddamn well learn to listen as well.
I like that.
And this is really important, I think.
Yes. Oh, it's very important. And I think
it's the mutual understanding. You have to have this mutual understanding that both parties' needs are important.
I think what you're saying is women need to become aware of gynocentrism. They need to become aware that they are entitled to things automatically, that they get things automatically, that people put them first automatically, and they don't even know it. And as long as a woman is in this space where she's unaware of gynocentrism, she's going to be a problem. She's never going to be able to relate to you in a partner sort of way. And it takes a lot to break women out of that gynocentric mold, because they've been trained since they were little girls, that they're special. And, oh my God, I can remember when I was a little kid in elementary school, girls first.
Yep.
The girls always, they'd get to go to the water fountain girls go first. All kinds of things. I remember one time I asked the teacher, when do the boys get to go first? And they told me to shut up, basically, and wait your turn.
Well, I'm sorry to say that things haven't improved.
Yes. We were learning then that we needed to be these blue pill guys that put our needs second and the women's needs first.
Yep.
And that was
it's called chivalry, I suppose.
Yes. And we need to unlearn that, just as women also need to unlearn that whole idea of being first. And it ain't easy for women to unlearn that. But
no, it isn't.
There's a lot of women out there who have unlearned it and can see the world in a very clear sort of way. But you got to find them. You got.
My wife learned this by binge watching Paul Elam's videos.
Yeah.
She quite enjoyed that.
Good for her.
She said something along the lines that he might be an asshole, but he's correct. Or something like that. I can't remember exactly.
Something like that. Yeah. Yes, indeed. But that's what you're looking for, gentlemen. You're looking for a woman who is able to see the world through the eyes of knowing that women are put first. And if she doesn't know that, your relationship is going to be a rocky one. Well, just
I
as
would
if you
also
don't
add.
know what your value is, your relationship's going to be a rocky one. Was that?
I would also like to add that you need guys need to look for a woman who is able to view the world through the eyes of a man.
Yes.
That is to say, that is able to empathize with
Yes.
being a man,
Yes.
or rather with how men are doing in the world,
Yeah.
which is not an easy thing for women to learn, I suppose, because they've never had to.
They have been taught the opposite, that men
Yep.
are a problem, that men are wrong, men are the oppressors, men are cold, they're unfeeling, all of these things they've been taught about men. So they really can't see the world through men's eyes, because what they've been taught is something that men aren't, It's like they're thinking the world is a fantasy. It's like, no, that's not what men are like. Can you really see the world through men's eyes? And they can't. Most women cannot see it. They have no concept.
No, they really don't.
They don't.
And I
have
think
the
most
first
women
clue.
don't. Most women don't understand that men, because the common feminist trope is that men are not in touch with their emotions because men don't show emotions like women do.
Right.
And I'm thinking, no, but men control their emotions, or
Yes.
tend to at least
Yes.
control their emotions. And
Yes.
I would dare argue that one who is able to identify an emotion and not act upon it, that is to say, able to identify an emotion, be that anger or be that love or be that sadness or whatever, right? And is still able to act rationally and not acting on emotional impulse, is someone who is far more in touch with their emotions than
Yes.
someone who flies off in a
Rage.
rage or in whatever.
Hysteria.
The one who is able to control their
Yes.
emotions, are more in touch with their emotions than someone who doesn't.
There was a fascinating study that I read about, and I can't remember if I can find the link or not, but basically they were trying to find out, is a man's experience of emotions different from a woman's experience of emotions?
I bet they were.
Well, they couldn't find evidence that was the case. They thought it was, but they couldn't find evidence that was the case. But they did find one thing that stuck out. And the one thing was that women tend to view emotions as an experience, and men tend to view emotions as a clue for what to do next.
Ah.
Isn't that fascinating?
Isn't that? That's very interesting.
Yeah, and it's what you were saying just a second ago. You were saying that, men will use this to do the next thing. And that's what this study found. I was like, and this was this tiny little print at the bottom of the study that no one ever paid attention to. But I think that was a huge finding. Because you see it all the time. I mean, these women, they have an experience, emotional experience. I cry, or I'm upset, or this or that or the other. It's like they value the experience of that emotion. Men don't value that. But they're not. It's not that they're not conscious of the emotion. It's they use it for different purposes. And
that's very interesting.
I think the men are more evolved, but that's just me. Maybe I'm biased.
No, you're just a foul patriarchal misogynist oppressor.
Thank you. I'm happy to be one.
Yeah. So am I. I have not given myself the title of a grand patriarch for nothing,
Yes, indeed. Grand patriarch, indeed. In fact, Moiret now has a little guy. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, please do.
Is that okay to talk about?
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah,
no problems.
That's important, that I remember when my little kids were little, just the importance of being there for them and splitting up the duties for childcare between man and woman. It was really interesting. You got any interesting stories about that?
Yes, I do actually. It is. Well, before I have taken some time off my writings, of course, in order to be in order to have some patriarchal leave.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that had nothing to do with it. I just wanted to tell people who weren't aware.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be 6 months. It's turned into a year almost. But never mind. While my wife was pregnant, right, I figured out that, okay, I'm going to be inside with my wife and with my son as much as possible, right?
Right.
To take part in the cuddling and whatever.
Yes.
And then he was born. And something just snapped inside my mind. No, not snapped. Sorry, a button just switched. I mean,
I know what you
I
mean.
didn't snap. A button just switched in my mind, and I went into complete protector provider mode.
Yes.
And so I spent all day outside in the freezing Norwegian winter for weeks on end, preparing firewood, right? Cutting down trees, chopping up firewood.
Yes.
Preparing flower beds so I could grow food and whatever.
Yes.
And this I figured out after a while, because my wife told me that, not in a nagging sort of way, just to make that clear, but she told me that you're not spending any time indoors, Moiret. You're always outside doing something, right?
Yeah.
And so I started thinking what the reason for that was. And I'm thinking, I've been listening to my biology, to my primal instincts, if you will.
Yes.
Because there is a need to protect and to provide, I believe.
Yes. Yes.
But it's not only socialized.
Right. It's not
There
just
is,
culturally induced. That's right.
yeah. I
It's
think
biological.
culture has something to do with it, I believe, but not everything.
Yes.
And this is when I realized what it was that I was doing, that is providing and protecting, everything just made sense.
Yes. Yes.
Right? Because before I was a bit more lazy, I'll have to admit, with staying inside and doing
Got you into
nothing.
gear, did it?
Yeah, it really did.
Got you into gear.
is-
Yeah, there's nothing like it. It really moves us.
Yeah, it really does. And
It's a great thing. I remember when I was the kids were first born. The spending time with them was critical, and my wife and I would basically split up the duties based on what A, we both like to do, or B, what we're good at doing, rather than doing things 50-50. You have to do this half of this, and you have to do half of that. So, and I think that's another sign of a red pill relationship, is when you can kind of split the duties up based on what you want and what you're good at, and not just in making sure that you take out half the trash and I'll take out half the trash.
I mean, I'm in complete agreement with that, of course.
Yeah. And I'm thinking that with you with the hard labor, I mean, that's something your wife could never do.
No, she couldn't. Not for long stretches of time, anyways.
Yes, and for you it was really good because that was exactly what you felt like doing.
Yeah, it was exactly what I needed. And this is not to say that I didn't spend any time with my son as he was born, of course, because I did. Right. And I still do, of course. But that was what it just felt right to do. And I never questioned why, right?
Yes.
Until my wife pointed it out, of course.
Of course.
For my wife's part, she's been getting increasingly better with her cooking, and she was not a bad cook at the to begin with, right?
All right.
So there's this horrible traditional gender roles, right?
Yeah.
Which just sort of came into being naturally and got not enlarged, got magnified.
Yes.
I think after we became parents.
Yes.
And it's really interesting. We are both very conscious about things like this because we're both got red pilled at about the same time, I think.
Yeah. You said something important just a second ago. You said she said it in a way that wasn't nagging.
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't like complaining or nagging or anything like that. She just pointed out.
That's another clue about a good relationship and about a red pill relationship, is your spouse is able to tell you things about yourself in a way that you can hear. So they're not going to go easy on you. They're not going to, say, well, I'm not going to, I'll just hold that back. No, they don't hold back, but they find a way to tell you things that so you can hear it. That's a good relationship, and we need to both be able to hear from the spouse and tell the spouse things that piss us off or upset us in a way that they can hear. And when you can do that, man, you're going to develop a loving relationship, which is going to last a long time, and there's so much benefit to that.
It really is.
No, I'm telling
you. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife and I have been married over 40 years. I can't remember how many years now, but it's just, I'm so glad that we're still together now. I mean, it's just a wonderful thing.
Yeah. My wife and I have been together for 14 years
All right.
this year, and we've been married for 7 years. So we sort of matured together.
You're running in
as well,
sevens.
right? Not as running in. Oh yeah, seven of it.
We'll see what happens at 21.
Yeah.
Yeah. Indeed. What else do we need to talk about? Anything else?
I'm not sure.
Or is that enough for today?
Depends on how long this video is. I'm not sure
we can make it as long as we want.
I'm not entirely convinced people want to listen to a shy, reserved Norwegian for hours on end, but
I think you may be surprised.
They might.
You have some definite perspectives on things that are unusual, insightful, and fascinating.
Well, I'm very happy to hear that, of course.
Man. And please, guys, check out Moiret's writing. It's just, it's really, really interesting stuff. And I just think he's one of the best writers out there on men's stuff today. So make sure you check it out. Go to MenAreGood. There's a lot of things happening at MenAreGood now. We've pulled together a group of people: Warren Farrell, Paul Nathanson, Janice Fiamengo, Moiret Allegiere. Who am I leaving out? There's a couple more people on there too. That Stephen Baskerville are writing some things for MenAreGood now, and it's filling up with fascinating articles. And of course, once a week we do a feeling good article, which is a real short idea about how can you feel good in a red pill world. What can you do to help yourself feel better? So come on to MenAreGood and check it out and see what you think. And Moiret, what do you think? Maybe we should cut out right about now?
Yeah, it's probably a good time to quit.
That's good. Think. And as we always say at the end, men
are
good.
Yeah.
That's not bad. We did that without visual cues or anything like that. So you all take care, and we'll see you the next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Men are good.